Flipper Fred is a unique buyer persona, and it is one that really only exists in the buying and selling space. They are chronic problem solvers and they make a ton of money if they do it well. In fact, Flipper Fred is such a large buyer persona and buyer type that we get half of our name, the Flippers part of Empire Flippers, from this buyer persona. So I want to dive into who they are, what does Flipper Fred do, and how do they make so much money by buying digital assets. Let's dive into all those answers and more in this next video of the buyer series. Hey everyone, my name is Gregory Elfrink and I am the Director of Marketing here at Empire Flippers, where we help people just like you every single day of the week buy and sell digital assets, whether it's a content site, an e-commerce store, or a SaaS business, you name it, even some of the weirder online businesses, we can help you sell or buy them either way. So this is the next video in our buyer series that we're doing. And today we're discussing one that I absolutely love and I think is probably the most powerful buyer persona to become in many ways, which is Flipper Fred. So Flipper Fred, who is he? What does he do? Well, really, if you've been following the rest of the series, and you can go on our YouTube and check out the playlist we're creating with each one of these videos when the new one drops. But really, Flipper Fred is the evolution of DIY Dave. So if you remember, DIY Dave usually is specialized in one skill. This is one of the first buyer personas where you really can start buying businesses on a discount, because DIY Dave is really buying a business with a problem. Then that's how he gets the discount, because the business is just worth less because of the problem. But DIY Dave knows how to fix that problem, and that's why it's a discount, because he fixes that problem and now the business is worth a lot more. Flipper Fred is very similar in this regard. But unlike DIY Dave, Flipper Fred is like a supercharged DIY Dave. Like, they know how to fix a lot of different problems usually. They have often already built up many different businesses within the same business model. So if you're a content site producer, you produce multiple different profitable content sites or e-commerce stores or what have you. So they're very familiar with the business model at this point. They have both bought and they have sold businesses, and they're very comfortable with the idea of doing both. So what Flipper Fred's whole thing is, they look for businesses with a lot of problems, or at least one problem that is affecting the valuation in a negative kind of way. Now, this could be all sorts of different things, from a Google penalty to an e-commerce store that's only shipping by air for some reason. Maybe they are really bad at inventory forecasting, all sorts of different issues. But they're looking for things that are negatively impacting that valuation that they can proactively fix once they take over the business. And Flipper Fred's whole strategy here, his long-term goal, is not to hold on to the business at all. Instead, what he does is he has a very strict, it can be 2 months, it could be other stuff. I recommend you have a very aggressive 2-month fix-it plan if you're going to be a Flipper Fred. And basically what you do is you go and fix all these problems within that 2-month window, ideally, and then you just kind of maintain the business. And you maintain the business for, say, another 8 months, maybe a year, and then you come back to a marketplace like us and you sell that business. And when you come back to us to sell that business, one, just because it's older, it's going to be worth more typically. Age usually makes the multiple go up, but also because you fixed all those problems in the first month or two of owning the business, what you've done is you've allowed the average net profit to skyrocket up over the last 8 to 12 months, which is what allows you to sell that business, usually for far more than what you bought it for. We've had clients that have sold their business for over double of what they bought the business for in a span of just 12 months. Again, this is a more of an advanced buyer persona. So if you're brand new to buying online businesses, I highly recommend you don't be a Flipper Fred. Maybe stick more into the newbie norm and lifestyle Larry quadrants of the buyer personas first, so you really understand what you're doing. But Flipper Freds can be an incredibly lucrative buyer persona for all the things I just mentioned, where they get to take a business, fix it, and flip it. So let's look at a hypothetical example. And while this is a hypothetical example, this is probably the most common use case I've seen Flipper Freds use on our marketplace. So let's say, as in common, as in this happens a lot, but let's take a $100,000 Amazon affiliate website. Very, basic, good quality website, maybe has some problems, maybe not even that severe, to be honest. There's no Google penalty or anything like that. It's getting decent traffic, good SEO, background, backlink profile, all that kind of stuff, right? So Flipper Fred comes in, he buys this $100,000 business. It's probably making around $3,500 of net profit per month on average over the last 12 months. And they go in there and they do a few certain tweaks. So every good Flipper Fred is going to have a checklist of what I call the low-hanging fruit checklist. These are the things that can move the needle the quickest and the fastest. And this is the most important thing to a Flipper Fred, because again, they're not thinking like long-term, like, oh, this is going to be a decade-long brand building exercise or anything like that. They're usually thinking much short-term. Think of like house flippers. If you buy a piece of real estate for cheap, you fix it up, and then you sell it for a lot more, right? So that's the exact same thing. They're not really looking to hold on to this asset for any longer than a year, maybe 16, 18 months, but really that would be like kind of long in the tooth for a Flipper Fred's like holding strategy. So back to the example. They buy this $100,000 Amazon affiliate site, and in the first week, they hire a CRO agency to start doing conversion rate optimization on the website, because they know most affiliate sites are not good in terms of design. They are usually ugly, they don't convert as well as they should, or like maybe they're ugly in the bad way, because some affiliate sites can be super ugly and convert like gangbusters, but maybe you need to make it ugly in a different way to make that happen, right? So they'll usually hire an agency if they don't have a team, because they're all about speed. So they don't want to be doing everything themselves. They'll usually leverage agencies that they've worked with before that have a proven track record. So they go get that CRO agency up and running on the first few days of owning the website. And because there's only affiliate links on it, because the person who built this site, as with many affiliates, they thought that if they added display ads, it would actually take away money from the website. So they never added display ads. So this site has enough money or enough traffic coming in where this buyer can just skip the lower paying networks like AdSense, where you can move into something probably closer to, say, Mediavine or AdThrive. Maybe he sticks with Ezoic. It depends on the traffic thresholds and all that stuff. But either way, he can get into all three of those networks, which typically will pay a lot better than AdSense. So he goes and does that. Now, CRO, when you set it up, usually it's like a 2-week period of testing all the different pages, and you then have a winner. And it's not uncommon for you to see your conversion rate optimization increase your conversions by, say, 20 to even 50%. So this is huge. So in the first 2 weeks, just by adding display ads and doing CRO, it's not unreasonable for us to think that this $3,500 a month affiliate site is now making closer to around $6,000. Now, if you waited, just waited, and that's all you did, those first 2 weeks, you just waited for another 8 months, your average net profit is going to jump up to something closer to $50 to $100 a month, and that is going to be a significant valuation bump. So let's say you did that. That's all you did those first 2 weeks, and then you just maintain the website, making sure it doesn't go down or anything catastrophic happens over this period of months. You at the end sell that business, say in 12 months or something like that, for 33x. Now you bought the business at 30x, and it's not unreasonable to see, say, a 3x bump for a website with a whole nother year of profitable data, like, data showing like, look, I'm profitable every single month for another year. It's older, it's survived all these Google updates, all that kind of stuff. So it's not unreasonable to think that you might get a 33x bump, or sorry, 33x sales multiple versus the 30x sales multiple that you bought the business at. And if that happens with your new average net profit, this $100,000 website you bought will now sell for $170,000. And if you come back to us at Empire Flippers to buy that or sell that business, even when you factor in our commission, you're coming out real pretty. Your gross profit on that is $70,000, right? Not minus our commission, but $70,000 in your pocket above what you bought the business for. Plus you are already making the cash flow every single month. Like things like hiring a CRO agency, that would probably cost you between $3,000 to $6,000 one-time fee. And the rest of that 8 months, 12 months, or however long you own the website, all that is basically pure profit that was going into your pocket while you were letting the asset marinate with the new average net profit before you sold the business. And now you take that $70,000 plus your initial $100,000, you got all your initial seed capital back, you take that $170,000 and you buy, say, a $120,000 affiliate site, and you do the exact same process. Let's do CRO, let's add display ads, or maybe there's another problem in there you need to fix, and that's it. Usually there's more things that a Flipper Fred would do outside of just doing CRO and adding display ads. I just chose those two because it was the simplest things and something I see people do all the time. But there's a bunch of different things they could have done as well. They could have done massive keyword research, massive content publishing using the established DR of the website. They could have built an email newsletter that is profitable, that is sending traffic back to the website. There's all sorts of different things you can do. So if you want to be a flipper Fred, I highly recommend you make a checklist. Like, choose one business model you really want to master, make a checklist of what is the lowest hanging fruit here. Like, if I did X, what can I do that would only take me, a few hours to do that could lead to big wins? In e-commerce, maybe that is package sizing depending on the scale of your business, right? If you're selling a ton of inventory every single month and the person who sold that business had like an obtuse package or just a package sizing that isn't optimized, you can go and redesign that. And now you're saving, say, 30 cents, 40 cents per unit in terms of shipping costs and storage costs, because the package is more tight, more aerodynamic, it's lighter, all that kind of stuff. That doesn't sound very huge until you're selling, tens of thousands of dollars worth of product every single month. That kind of scale to widen your margin adds up in a big way at scale. So there's a bunch of different things you can do in every single business model that has these low-hanging fruits. Each of them are often going to be radically different. So that's why I recommend, if you want to be a flipper Fred, you really need to laser focus on one business model and become a true expert in that, where you can you breathe and sleep this stuff. Like, you should be sleeping about your Seller Central account because it's so much part of your life. Like, you can go to your computer and just close your eyes and log in, all that kind of stuff, right? You want to be a true expert if you're a flipper Fred. And if you do decide to commit to that, then you have a very lucrative road ahead of you being this kind of buyer persona. So this is the part of the video where I give you some tips as a flipper Fred to watch out for. And honestly, I pretty much already gave you all the tips, but just to reiterate here, focus on one business model, specialize in that, become an expert in it. Look for businesses with problems. Ideally, there should be more than one problem, unlike a DIY Dave, because hopefully you're already more of an intermediate in your business model choice. So you want to look for businesses with a ton of problems that you can fix. And the next thing is have a flip plan. So this flip plan is what I was just saying. You have all the low-hanging fruit, all the things that can move the needle outlined into a simple checklist. You should have each one of the processes on how to fix that problem already outlined in a separate document that is your standard operating procedures. That way, every time you buy a business, you open up your checklist. CRO. Here's my link on how to do CRO. Right, I just hired this agency. All right, next one, how to add display ad code. Like, okay, how do I do that? Like, cool. So you're doing it the same way every single time, and it takes you very little amount of time because you don't have to remember how to do it. So that's a very important thing. And the reason why that is so important is because the first 2 months of owning the business, at least in my opinion, other flipper Freds can do it differently, but in my opinion, this is the most important. That 2-month window when you take over the business is the time to go hard on that business. Really aggressively grow it. Do everything. Throw the kitchen sink at it to make it better and supercharge. I've seen flipper Freds even lose money for the first 2 months, where they take that entire net profit cash flow plus some of their working capital and just throw it back into the business for growth. That's what you really want to do. But you don't want to do it forever, because you do want that net profit to start going up, right? So those first 2 months are like the heavy capital reinvestment periods, and then you let the business just marinate. Because unlike other buyer personas, you should never really be looking at to scale the business dramatically if you want to be a flipper Fred. A flipper Fred is a master of doing small tweaks that make big movements. And you can only do so many of those in a business before you have to start doing the harder stuff of scaling, like learning an entire new ad platform or logistics plan or whatever, So a flipper Fred, while they are a master of their business model, they're not exactly a master of scaling the business model to the moon, right? They're a master of seeing all the common mistakes that people make and fixing those mistakes. And that is what allows them to profit in, say, 10 to 12 months, because the real profit in this buyer persona isn't from the cash flow coming from the business. It'll come when you actually sell the business and get all your seed capital back, plus the additional capital to go do it again. So I mentioned flipper Fred is one of my favorite buyer personas, and one of the big reasons why is because you can participate in something I call the asset flywheel. The asset flywheel, in my opinion, is one of the fastest ways to generate real wealth. I'll link to my asset flywheel video in the description down below, so you can go check out what that means. But that is flipper Fred in a nutshell. They are a very powerful buyer persona, and once you're at this level, like, some people like never leave this level because it can be so lucrative, as I demonstrating the hypothetical. Like imagine that $100,000 business was like $1 million business. And this is something that happens at all levels of businesses. So this is a very, very powerful buyer persona that I think everyone should, at least try once, because it can be so lucrative. But we're going to go on onwards in this buyer series to the next video where we'll be talking about portfolio pause. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Hope you're all doing well. And if you like this video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe bell. That helps us a ton. You'll be notified every time we launch a new video, a new content. We try to do content every week. I sometimes fail at posting a video, but we try to do content every week about buying and selling online businesses, as well as internet marketing and business topics in general. So if you like this type of stuff, if you like this type of content, please leave us a subscribe on the bell and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think of Flipper Fred. I would love to know your opinion. Are you a Flipper Fred? Do you want to become a Flipper Fred? And if you want to find out what buyer persona you are, because you are confused what you might be, you can go ahead and click the link in the description where you can fill out our free buyer persona quiz. And it's just like a fun personality kind of quiz, and it'll let you know what kind of persona matches your current skill set at the moment. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon and speak to you later.